glad somebody's been looking forward to this night. Pardon?
I think every night has been great.
It is, every night I'm not up here, I agree with that. All right, how many of y'all ever had any military food? Anybody ever been in the service? Had military food? Well, I got to thinking, you know, I've been trying to get my wife to let me move up from being a dishwasher. And she said, you got to get the experience, you know. And I have to think, you know, I cooked in the Army. It really wasn't my job, but I was on a post that everybody had to have a top secret clearance to be on it through the FBI. And so we couldn't have civilian cooks and KPs. We had to do our own work. And I love rice. Any of you love rice? Well, they never served rice, but they had rice. So I learned after a while that they did have one little bitty pot. And, you know, they didn't cook with big pots like that. So I experimented with the rice. And being a military police, the mess sergeant wouldn't fool with me because we could get back at him. So I learned to cook rice in the military. So tonight, you can blame it on the military if I messed up, and you can enjoy it. But just, did anybody ever made gluten steaks before? All right, it's called a wheat beet. And it's really a simple thing to do now. Years ago, my boys was always after me to make it. And it was an all-day job. It was either raining or cold before I would do it because you're stuck with you get a 5-pound bag of flour and you go washing and washing and washing. And when you got through, you had a little handful of gluten and all the flour and washed away. But some enterprising person decided since they were making white bread and taking all the nutrients out of it, that they came up with vital wheat gluten, which is this. And it eliminated all that work. So I love doing it now for just a 1 minute job, and when I get started, I will call Delson up here, he's going to be my timekeeper again. And we're going to pour the water in it, and it's going to be over. So it calls for, this recipe is, you have your book, page 73, there's a recipe in there. It's not the one I use. It calls for 4 cups of gluten, and this is 2.5. And I like this one a lot better. It has a tight cup of quick cooking oats, so you get some oatmeal in it. You get added fiber. You get a 1/4 of a cup of nutritional yeast flakes, or 1/3 of a cup. And I think you have the recipe as a handout, we should have. And then you also get wheat germ. And the wheat germ adds more protein to it. And then I forgot to bring a jar of chicken seasoning. There's chicken seasoning in the back, or they make the chicken seasoning. And they also make a beef seasoning. And I have made it by putting beef instead of chicken in it, and it change the flavor of it. So, and then you get a tablespoon of onion powder, and I think a teaspoon of garlic, and a pinch of cayenne. And then this recipe calls for, I think, what is it, a teaspoon of salt. Any of you ever use the pink Himalayan salt? They have it at Walmart. It's a pink, and the reason it's pink, it has a lot of iron in it. The Himalayan salt, or a good sea salt, has 80-something minerals. If you buy Martin, a can of 4 Windows Rangers, you have 2, unless you buy one with as the iodine, and you get 3 minerals. But this has the whole gamut. And during World War II, blood is the same as the ocean, has the same minerals, but the consistency is different. And in the Pacific, when they would run low on blood, you know, you can only get blood from the donor so much, they would filter ocean water and then give a man a pint of seawater, and it would save a lot of lives. So I'd encourage you to, if you're in Walmart, they sell it there. It comes with a grinder. If you don't want food with a grinder, you take it apart, put it in a coffee cup or something, and grind it up and make the same thing. But it is really good. And well, while I'm on it, any of you garden, anybody garden, plant tomatoes, have flowers, or all right, well, you need to see me, and I'll show you how to grow healthy foods with ocean water. And you can make your own ocean water by using this sea salt. And if you use sea salt, you want to get a good one that hasn't been processed or bleached, which will destroy a lot of these vitamins and minerals. I mean, not vitamins, but the minerals that are in it. But I encourage you to use this because you remember I told you about the guy bathing in the ship? Well, there's a lot of ships out there, and all that water goes in there when you bathe. Plus, we were in Boston one time, and across the river was a big dock where garbage trucks came down, and they were loading the barge with the garbage. And I asked the dock worker where we were what they did with that. He said they go out in the ocean and dump it. So the ocean, there's a lot of water in it, but over the years, and I don't know how many cities do that, it could be a problem, but we use sea salt, and hopefully it's good. There are several different things you can buy. All right, Nelson, you got your watch? You just come on up, give me some time here. This recipe calls for 2 cups of water, but the one in the book is 4 cups of flour and 4 cups of water. And I've made a lot of other recipes, and they all call for a cup of water to a cup of the gluten. But this one, by adding the oats and the wheat kernel, plus the other half a cup, I can never make it just 2 cups of water. So if you use that recipe, I've gone to using 2 1/4. And if you try it, pardon?
2 1/4 or 2 1/2?
I use 2 1/4 of water. It calls for 2 1/2. Yeah, it calls for 2 1/2 cups of flour. But down at the bottom it calls for 2 cups of water. But I can never get all the gluten to absorb into it. All right, it calls for a minute after you get it stirred. And you want to make sure you got it all worked into it, because once you put it in there, it's going to be over. It's going to make it fall right with it. So let's see how it will come out here. All right, when I get it stirred, and I go to knead, I need you to time me for a minute. A minute doesn't seem long, but it can be a pretty good while. And I did wash my hands because you'll want to use your hands in this. You see how it makes a sticky thing here. Sometimes you don't get, you just want to time it, we'll kind of knead it just like you would flour for bread. And you may want to give me a minute and a half because I'm from the South and I figure we talk slow and I know I work slow. So if you're from up north, you may want just a minute. But if you're like me, I've been known to be lazy. All right, when you get it where it starts coming together real good, and you've kneaded it, you want to knead it so that the gluten will break down and get a little firm so it'll hold up. You want to roll it and make you a log out of it. And the size of the log is going to depend on how big a steak you want. If you want them porterhouse size, you need to make it like this, but if you want tenderloins, yeah, you spread it on out. All right, in a minute. All right, we'll get it just a little bit. There we go. Now, the recipe I use calls for putting it in the refrigerator for an hour to overnight. So I'm going to carry this home and get through. I'll wrap it, put it in the refrigerator, and then tomorrow I'll make the broth. You can see the recipe on there for the broth. And it looks like it's a lot of water, but if we use it. When you make it, you want to get your whitish pot. It needs to be pretty deep to hold 13 cups of water. Because this will swell up. It'll be almost double once you boil.
It says 1/3.
Pardon?
The recipe says 1/3 cup of
1/3?
water.
Oh, they made a mistake. Somebody retyped that on the broth. It costs 13 cups. In the book, her recipe, I've never tried it out of the book because it calls for, I think, 2 quarts, which would be, 8 cups, and with 4 cups of wheat gluten. That would be a lot of gluten for the amount of water. So this, you're going to boil it for 45 minutes. Once it gets to a boil, you have it cut or be cut while your water's boiling. And if you ever, any of you made chicken and dumplings, you just throw all your dumplings in a pile. How do you do them? You want to do this the same way, so it doesn't stick and stuff. And like I say, it's going to double. So once you get them all in there, you can turn your pot down to a low simmering cover and let it go for 45 minutes. And then turn it off and let them sit in the pot in your broth until it cools. And then it's going to be absorbing more of the flavors of the broth. If you don't want it in steaks, you can pull it off in like maybe a quarter size, something like this, make it a little patty, and you put them in there. And then when you get ready, you can make chicken nuggets. They're real good. You bread them, put them in the oven on a baking sheet, and the recipe calls for, I'll get the time on it, 15 minutes, and then turn them. But you can make a couple hundred chicken nuggets. If you don't want to use it just then, you can cut it, and after it's boiled, you can freeze it. And I like to freeze it in a container with some of the broth, and freeze it for a couple months or Ours never lasts that long. We get where we want to eat it. One. Some recipes call for baking them after you prep them. Some recipes you can pan fry it a little bit like you would a steak. Depends on your taste, what you want to get. I've never tried it, but I think you could maybe put it in a food processor and make little chiplets out of it, put it in a spaghetti sauce, use it like you would. But tonight, we got some good cooks in there, and they haven't been in the military, so it will be good, and you'll get to try some, and I hope you'll enjoy them. It's a good transition to get away from meat. This is one that I made yesterday or the day before yesterday, and it was a little smaller than that, and it swells up to about this size. And you want to cut them about 1/4 of an inch thick, for like I say, they're going about double in size. And, I hope you enjoy them.
Hello. Recipe?
Yes.
Okay. It takes 1½ cups of cornbread. And it takes 2 cans of black-eyed peas. I use the bushes, and they have some with bacon and they have some with snaps. And they also have some that's just plain black-eyed peas. And I put them in a little colander and I rinse them to get some of the candy taste off, plus the sodium that might be on there. And I put 1 can in the food processor and puree them. And then I do the other one like that too, and then I just leave them whole. And the recipe calls for an egg, but I don't use an egg in mine. If you wanted to, you could use egg replacers, but I don't even do that because they stick together and enough to that you don't have to use any egg in it. And it takes 1/4 cup of mayo, and I use the Vegenaise. This is sort of like making crab cakes. A lot of the ingredients that you would put in a crab cake, I guess. And 1 medium onion chopped, and 2 cloves of garlic minced, and 1 red bell pepper. And you saute those in a little bit of olive oil. I don't use butter or any kind of margarine. And I've already sauteed them. Just put them in there. Just stir them up. Get everything combined really well. Mix them at home, it's usually the vegetables are warm from sauteing them, and they sort of mix better when it's warm. And these are really good if you're having a party. You can make little ones like for hors d'oeuvres and just serve them. I do that with when David's family comes over, his sisters and brother, they like them. My gloves on to make a patty. And it says that you, I usually have a cookie sheet and I sprinkle it heavily with cornmeal, and I make my patties on that. And you're supposed to chill them for 30 minutes. And I had cornmeal, but I don't know what happened to it anyway. The patties I made today, I made them in little hors d'oeuvre size, like that. You just place them on a cookie sheet with your cornmeal, and then when you get all of them made, you can just sprinkle the cornmeal on the top of them. And I just stick them, cover them with some plastic wrap, and put them in the refrigerator and let them chill for about 30 minutes. And so that's it. And then it has a really nice sauce that goes with it. I'm using sour cream, but I'm using the vegan sour cream. It calls for 8 ounce. I think it's 8 ounces of sour cream. Anyway, just put it in a bowl. This sour cream is really good. I got this at Virginia's. I haven't seen it at any grocery store. So,
Publix carries it on Hillcrest, but they carry the food.
oh, okay.
And sometimes they run out, but they do have it in the dairy section next to sour cream.
Okay. And a fourth of a cup of chopped jalapenos. And we just found these. These are really minced up really fine and just perfect for this recipe. Kind of spicy, but anyway, you just mix that up, and when you get them sauteed, you just put a little dollop on there. Everybody can put their own, however much they like. And they're real tasty.